Here we go again. I thought I just saw Anthropic's CEO on Oprah's podcast, bouncing all around. Anthropic's doing well. This is phenomenal. Everybody loves Anthropic. Now I see a new GMA, Anthropic CEO, talking about the dangers of artificial intelligence a day ago. Let's see what he has to say now. Every day these people are switching back and forth. We don't know what to believe. You tell me, guys. Come on.
Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei is raising a red flag about the dangers of the rapid advancement of artificial intelligence.
We need to collect better data on what's happening, right? There's been a lot of debate about what's happening in the labor market with AI now and what will happen in the future.
In a lengthy essay, Amodei, whose AI company is valued at nearly $1 trillion, says the release of AI models
$1 trillion. Elon just said that too. You saw my last video. Now they're valued at nearly $1 trillion. Okay. Guess the next trillionaire coming up. I'm telling you, it's the new level. We're hitting new levels. Got to step your game up. Trillionaires out here. Who could imagine? I don't even know when they made that jump. Wasn't it like 3 years ago? They were like 200 billion. How do we get to I don't know. That's another story. We'll talk about that later. What is going on with we need to collect better data? What are you talking about? You guys should be collecting amazing data. You create artificial intelligence off of large language models, tons of data. You got visual data, text data, like what? And you trying to tell me you're not collecting the right data, enough data? You better stop playing.
should be blocked or reversed as a threat to public safety if they do not.
Hold on. All right. It says release of AI models should be blocked or reversed as a threat to public safety if they do not meet high standards of safety. Okay. So what models is he talking about? You know, just a few, what is it? Mythos came out. Then they had one they just released to the public this week. Are those things safe? You know, I got companies out here going crazy because of Mythos, banks changing up like things like they're releasing the dangerous stuff and then saying other. Let me get off.
Meet high standards of safety. How much of an onus falls on you, on Anthropic?
I think we're building it.
My man is smiling. She asked the right question. He's shaking and look at this, guys.
The onus is on us, right? I think the government has a role in setting standards, in helping us identify and track down threats. So the government has to do its part as well. And I think
so now he's throwing it back on the government, but we know that the government, Trump is out here like, we don't want any guardrails, right? So they're not going to do anything, but he's like, I like the game you're playing here. Amodei he's playing the slick game. He's like, hey, listen, man, you guys need to push back on. We're just going crazy out here. The things that we are doing could be harmful. You know, we don't want to hurt anybody. Government, please come regulate us. Trump is like, listen, guys, first of all, you know we're beefing because I'm not sure if you realized a few months ago they were saying, I think the government wanted to use Anthropic's Claude, and then they were like, listen, you guys want to do some, you know, people can get hurt, you know, with what we have here. So we don't really feel too comfortable. So Trump is not even dealing, the Trump administration is not even dealing with Anthropic, at least in the forefront. And then Trump doesn't want guardrails because he feels like, hey, in order for us to be successful, whoever controls AI essentially controls the world. He wants to make sure America controls the world because they believe that there's a race between them and China, United States and China, but they're shaking hands. It's a crazy game. And this guy's laughing. So we got to be careful. Let's hear what else he has to say. Who else? You guys think this is kind of weird?
The government is starting to do its part. But the onus primarily falls on us.
You may be aware that at some commencement speeches in recent weeks, whenever the speaker mentioned AI, students booed pretty loudly.
The question is whether you will help shape artificial intelligence.
Oh.
We do not know the precise contours of what this transformation will look like.
What might you
I mean, these people are out here smiling, you know, and I'm glad that this generation is booing because it's sad. You know, they just finished college. First of all, they went through a lot. So if you think about it, it's 2026, right? These people probably went through college the last 4 to 5 years, right? So they went through that whole COVID period where some of them probably didn't even have a physical graduation. This first time they're graduating actually live, like as opposed to being on Zoom or people be able to go to their graduations. it was really a struggle, right? Because they said a lot of people had terrible grades because of COVID. It just went down. And now they're saying, oh, because of artificial intelligence, we're going to lower the amount of white collar entrants that come in because of AI. It could be up to 50%. So of course they don't want to hear about artificial intelligence because, first we got this rules for student loans that are changing July 1st. They're coming out of college right now in May and June. Rules are changing in July. There's no jobs for them or very little, right? So most of them will not have a job. And they're over here bragging about AI and saying, we don't know what's really going to happen. So we're just out here recklessly deploying artificial intelligence. We know for sure that it should make money for companies. But there's other dangers that we really don't know or really don't care about. We're just really interested in the future progress. We can figure that stuff out later. I mean, it's a wild, wild world we're living in right now. How do you guys feel about this? Let's talk about this in the comments.
Say to those students, to Americans in general, that they might have a more optimistic outlook about artificial intelligence?
I think the justified anger comes from the fact that there are real risks to this technology. Now we're proposing stronger regulation of the technology. We're proposing giving the government the ability to, again, in a narrow way, block deployment of unsafe technology. So what I would say to them is AI isn't bad.
Now, here's my thing, right? We're talking about, it really doesn't make sense. Like, is he talking about he wants the government to regulate other companies or his own company? Why would you, if you know something's unsafe, why would you even develop it and then say, hey, government, come regulate us? The government doesn't even know what's in there, right? They have to sit with it for a little bit to try to figure it out and reverse engineer what's actually happening there. The developers know what's actually in the code and what it can actually do. How would the government know that unless you told them? They might have a committee of people that sit down and say like, hey, we reviewed this thing. It might not be too safe or it might be safe. Then there's some other code in there that they didn't even know about, right? And it's released anyway. So I think it sounds like they're playing the game where we want to at least make it look like we have some guardrails and some guidelines to keep people safe. And I think that's all he was focusing on, but he wasn't talking about the reality that people are not thinking about the risk per se. Those college students, they're thinking about their ability to repay their loans and live a life and live the American dream, right? And let's be clear, this is not only happening in the United States. I want to hear from people that are, watching this video. What part of the world are you in and what are you actually seeing? This is happening all over the world, right? This is not a singular, just an America thing. This is global, right? We live in a globalized world.
It isn't inherently bad. It just needs to be developed with the right guardrails.
And Amade believes that this tech is more good than bad, but he says that he's still concerned about the risks, like misuse of cyber attacks, misuse of biology, and the potential for the models to run out of control.
And he's really sincere about these warnings.
He really does.
I mean,
seem to be, and at the same time say.
I like how she said seems to be. This guy's Stephanopoulos, like, oh, he really is sincere. He can't be sincere because it's as simple as putting, they know what it can do. Like, it's funny because they started off, and I'm not sure if you guys know, Amade, the CEO of OpenAI, of Anthropic, was actually also on with ChatGPT with OpenAI, right? As well as Elon Musk as a founder. So we're playing this game where it was like initially 10 years ago, we're saying we want to start a company so that we can make sure that artificial intelligence is being deployed and it's safe. And then you switch and become a for-profit company. And now you're like, oh, we need to have some regulations. So they're playing two sides of the coin here. Again, people, just be wary, pay attention to what's actually happening out here. I'm not saying that AI is all bad, right? Just like anything in life, once things can be extreme, you have your good, you got your bad, and it's basically how you choose to leverage it. And we got to be smart and be cautious. Make sure that you're not putting all your information in there, your biological, because, a lot of biometric scanning is happening. There's another video, and I'll probably talk about that later, where they want to introduce, scanning your eyeballs. And I think that's also, I think it's called Global, and that's also supported by Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. So a lot actually happening out here. So I feel like they're collecting data points from different places, right? What happens when they take that information and then robotics come along? So they're working alongside that. I'm not sure if you're paying attention to that. We got AI is the mind, and then we got the robotics that's the robots that are the bodies. And what happens when you put all that information, they collect all your information and able to put that with the AI into the robot and just throw some skin over it. And then quantum's coming. It's a lot that's actually happening out here. So you got to start thinking about the future and actually what's happening, and just kind of be aware. And that's all I'm trying to do is shed light on what's actually happening in the world and what it means for you and your family to get you thinking so that you can adjust and adapt. A lot of these things we can't stop from happening. Let's just be honest, right? We can make sure that your voice is heard. You make sure you raise your hand, you're participating, you're writing letters to the government, local, state, federal, whatever you can do. Set up nonprofits and kind of push back if you see that it's not necessarily working out, and get ahead of that. Also leverage the tools to get ahead of it as well, right? So you can use the tools to fight the tool. That's the crazy part. That's the secret weapon. But let me get off my soapbox. See you guys on the next one.